2 years from now, a single car might quietly make 1,000 kilometers without stopping once. No charging anxiety. No overheating warnings. No range calculator running in the driver's head. Just drive. And when it finally does need power, 10 minutes later, it's ready again. That possibility is what shook the EV world. Not because it came from a flashy startup. Not because it was announced with a dramatic stage reveal. But because it came from a company most people thought was late to the electric race, Toyota, for years. The electric vehicle story felt predictable. Tesla led. Others followed. Elon Musk pushed battery innovation with the 4680 cell. Bigger, more powerful, cheaper to produce. It powered the Cybertruck. It entered the Model Y. Investors believed Tesla's battery roadmap would keep it ahead. And then Toyota showed something different. Not louder, just different. They revealed a solid-state battery prototype, claiming over 1,000 kilometers of range, 10-minute charging, thousands of cycles without major degradation, stability in extreme heat and freezing cold. On paper, it didn't just improve EVs, it erased their biggest weaknesses. But this only matters once you see what that really means. Because this story isn't just about a better battery, it's about timing. And one decision that could reshape the entire EV industry. For years, Toyota was criticized for being too slow on fully electric vehicles. While Tesla was building gigafactories, Toyota doubled down on hybrids. The Prius became a symbol of efficiency, but not of full electrification. Analysts questioned whether Toyota had missed the shift, quietly, though something else was happening. Behind the scenes, Toyota expanded battery research in Japan, the US, and Germany. They invested billions into next-generation chemistry. They redesigned manufacturing plants. They built an EV platform called Beyond Zero. And they set a deadline, 2027 to 2028. For solid-state mass production, they didn't rush into the market. They waited. This is where the story starts to get uncomfortable because lithium-ion batteries, the kind used in almost every EV today, have a limitation most drivers never think about. Inside them is a liquid electrolyte. That liquid carries lithium ions between electrodes. It works well, but under pressure, heat, or damage, it can become unstable. That's why thermal management systems are so complex. That's why battery packs are heavy and layered with protection. Solid state? Batteries remove that liquid entirely. Instead, they use a solid material, ceramic-like, glass-like, polymer-based, to move ions. No flammable liquid. Less risk of runaway reactions. Higher energy density. More compact packaging, at least in theory, because theory is easy. Mass production is not. Tesla understood this. Elon Musk publicly called solid-state extremely difficult. His team focused instead on improving lithium-ion with the 4680 cell. Larger diameter. Tables is designed for faster current flow. Structural battery packs to reduce weight and cost. It was a smart move. But here's the tension. If Toyota's solid-state battery reaches production at scale, the 4680 could feel like an evolutionary step in a world that suddenly made a leap. Think about what 1,000 kilometers actually changes today. Most EVs offer 400 to 600 kilometers of range. That's enough for daily driving. But long trips require planning. Charging stations, wait times, backup plans in cold weather. Now imagine driving from one major city to another without thinking about infrastructure. Imagine charging in the time it takes to grab coffee. Infrastructure pressure drops. Range anxiety fades. Safety concerns decrease. And here's the part few people are talking about yet. If solid-state batteries last thousands of cycles without meaningful degradation, battery replacement, one of the biggest long-term cost fears, becomes less relevant. That shifts resale value. Insurance risk models, even how governments plan charging networks. It doesn't just change the car, it changes the ecosystem. But Toyota still faces one brutal obstacle. Manufacturing solid-state batteries require new materials, new fabrication methods, precision layering, controlled environments. Scaling that from prototype to millions of units is an engineering marathon. Costs must drop. Yields must stabilize. Supply chains must adapt. Toyota says they're preparing new factories, Japan, America, Europe. Initial rollout likely in premium vehicles, possibly Lexus, where lower volume allows testing and refinement. Then, expansion into mass-market EVs under their broader electric lineup. If they hit their timeline, 2027 to 2028 becomes a pivot point, and that's where Tesla re-enters the story. Tesla's strength has always been perception plus execution, the belief that it leads technologically, that it moves first, that it defines the future. Investors price that belief into the stock. Customers buy into that narrative. But what happens if another company delivers a battery that is objectively safer, longer range, and faster charging? Does Tesla pivot to solid? Double down on lithium-ion improvements. Introduce something entirely different, because the market doesn't wait. BYD is expanding aggressively. Toyota is preparing. Governments are tightening emissions policies. Consumers are becoming less forgiving of compromises. The race is no longer about who made EV popular, it's about who removes the last reasons people hesitate to buy one, and maybe that's the real shift happening here. For years, EV competition felt like a sprint. New models, faster acceleration, bigger screens, software updates. Now it feels like a materials science. War.chemistry, manufacturing, scalability. Toyota isn't promising a new dashboard. They're promising a new foundation. If they succeed, the conversation changes from should I switch to electric to why wouldn't I? But there's still one unanswered question. Not whether solid state works in a lab, not whether Tesla can respond. The real question is this: when the breakthrough finally reaches the road, will it feel like a revolution? Or will we realize that the real disruption wasn't the battery at all, but which company understood the future soon enough to build it quietly? Because in technology, dominance doesn't disappear overnight, and that's the part most headlines are missing. Because breakthroughs don't usually destroy leaders overnight. They expose hesitation. Right now, Tesla still dominates the conversation. It has scale, brand loyalty, a charging network. Competitors still rely on years of software data feeding into autonomous systems. That advantage doesn't vanish because of one prototyped, but markets don't move on what exists today. They move on what looks inevitable tomorrow. If Toyota truly delivers a 1,000 10-minute battery at competitive pricing, something subtle but powerful happens. The psychological barrier around EVs collapses. For over a decade, the EV debate has revolved around three anxieties. How far can I go? How long will charging take? What happens to the battery after a few years? Solid state targets all three at once. That's not incremental improvement, that's narrative control. And this is where things get interesting, because Toyota's strategy doesn't look emotional. It looks patient, almost surgical. First, prove stability. Then, test in premium models. Then, scale manufacturing. Then, drop costs by the time competitors fully react. The ecosystem may already be shifting. Imagine this scenario. It's 2028. A Lexus model launches with solid-state technology. Reviews confirm 950 to 1,050 kilometers real-world range. Charging in under 15 minutes on compatible infrastructure. No significant winter performance drop. Battery degradation barely noticeable after heavy testing. Even if initial pricing is high, perception changes overnight. Suddenly, Tesla's 600 to 700 kilometers range feels normal, not revolutionary, and perception drives buying behavior, far more than spec sheets. But here's the twist. Toyota has historically been conservative. They rarely their brand is built on reliability, not spectacle. So when they publicly attach a timeline to solid-state mass production, it signals unusual confidence. Still, timelines in advanced battery chemistry are notoriously fragile. QuantumScape promised progress. Samsung showcased prototypes. Many companies demonstrated lab-scale success. Scaling remains the graveyard of ambition. Which brings us back to Elon Musk. Tesla has never been afraid of risk. In fact, risk built the company. The Gigapress, vertical integration, software-centric vehicles, over-the-air updates, direct-to-consumer sales. But battery architecture decisions take years to play out. You can't pivot chemistry overnight. Supply chains, equipment, tooling, they lock you into long arcs. So the real question isn't whether Tesla can build solid dash state, it's whether Tesla believes it needs to, because Tesla's approach has often been pragmatic. Improve what works, optimize manufacturing, reduce cost. The 4680 wasn't about flashy chemistry. It was about scalability and structural efficiency. If lithium-ion can still be pushed further, better density, better cooling, faster charge curves, Tesla might bet that solid-state's complexity isn't worth the risk. But that bet only holds if Toyota stumbles, and this is where the tension tightens. Toyota doesn't need to dominate 100% of the market to shift the balance. They only need to prove that solid-state works reliably at scale. Once that proof exists, investor expectations change. Competitors accelerate R&D, governments update EV roadmaps. Infrastructure planning adjusts around faster turnover at charging stations. Even grid modeling changes. 10-minute charging spikes power demand differently than 30-minute sessions. That affects energy storage, distribution, peak load management. The ripple spreads outward, and here's something most people don't notice yet.